nutrition plays the key role or the most important part when it comes to a child's development. So there are 2 or 3 aspects of nutrition. Nutrition is divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. The macros, we usually say macros. Most of the moms who must be on a diet journey or a physical fitness journey probably know these terms. So when we talk about macros, they include carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And when we are talking about micronutrients, there are multiple micronutrients such as zinc, iron, selenium, vitamin D, vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, copper, manganese, a lot of things which are encompassed under the term of micronutrients. So for a child's proper growth, the macronutrients and the micronutrients should be in a balanced state, right? So as I said, the macronutrients contain carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So if suppose we are not giving, we think that giving carbohydrates and sugars or carbs would be really harmful for the child. That is also wrong. Anything in excess or anything which is in a minimal quantity is not good. Everything should be given in moderation. A growing child requires macros as well as micros, but the problem arises is usually the plate, which should be ideal, right? I'm telling an ideal scenario of a plate. So suppose if we are distributing a plate into 4 quadrants, so the first quadrant usually takes up your leafy vegetables or salads, which are going to give you the zinc, the iron, the calcium, all these micronutrients. The second part is where the most essential, that is the vegetable part. So vegetables are really low in carbohydrates, but very good in fibers, very good in proteins. The third part is again proteins. Protein is a very important structure and ingredient. Probably we'll talk about it in much details later on. But protein encompasses paneer, milk products, your soyas, your dals. If non-vegetarians, then chicken and eggs encompasses the proteins. And the last is the carbohydrates, which include chapatis, bhakris, rice, all these things. The another thing or concept is the chas or the curd, which should also be included in the plate. So the fifth quadrant of the plate is the chas or the curd. So all these probiotic and prebiotic. Correct. So so when we are talking about these things, are you sure that your child is getting the entire nutrition through the food that you are providing? Is your child eating the entire plate? All the 5 quadrants are taken care of? If not, then there are other ways or other substitutes by which we can add these things. There are a lot of other things such as multivitamins. There are prebiotics and probiotics which can be given. Other things is if the child is taking milk, the most important concept or the myth that Indian parents have is, mere bacche ne agar ek glass doodh pee liya, that is sufficient for him to sustain till the meal time. But you should understand this, that the milk that we provide is usually the cow's milk or the buffalo's milk. I'm pretty sure it is 90% of the mothers are giving cow's milk rather than buffalo's milk. So cow's milk, I usually tell my patients that cow's milk is for the calf and not for the child, right? Because that a human child. The reason is the proteins, the sugars, the iron, the micronutrients, everything that is present in the cow's milk is usually essential or well absorbed by that mammalian species and not by human species. What is happening is, what we are doing is we are just filling the stomach, right? So once I give a big glass of plain milk, suppose I'm adding sugar to it for the taste sake, and I'm giving that glass of a milk to the child's gastric emptying, that is the readiness for the next milk or the next feed or the next meal, is going to be slow, because the gastric emptying is slower. The stomach is not going to get empty, and the child is not going to get hungry for the next meal, which is actually going to be the important part wherein we are going to give the macros and the micros. But most of the time, not adding anything to the milk or fortifying the milk is a mistake that we do. So usually you can, there are a lot of milk powders or milk proteins or milk substitutes which can be given to the kids. Make sure that you add and fortify the cow's milk so that the child receives the macros and the micros along with the glass of milk.